Democratic senators were critical of President-elect Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth during his confirmation hearing Tuesday. Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth, an Iraq War veteran and Purple Heart recipient, was among Hegseth's critics, telling him he was not qualified to be Defense Secretary.
The American people need a SecDef who's ready to lead on day one. You are not that person. Our adversaries watch closely during times of transition, and any sense that the Department of Defense that keeps us safe is being steered by someone who's wholly unprepared for the job puts America at risk, and I am not willing to do that.
Senator Tammy Duckworth joins us now. Senator, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
What were your biggest concerns about Hegseth's nomination going into the hearing, and were any of them alleviated after hearing from him?
Well, no, my concerns were not alleviated, and in fact, unfortunately, it was confirmed that he is not qualified to do the job. I asked him some very simple questions that, a college student studying international relations should have been able to answer, and yet he couldn't even answer them. And this is a guy who wants to be Secretary of Defense. I asked him about nations that we would be dealing with, our allies, and he couldn't name them. And so I am just deeply, deeply concerned that we are moving forward quite quickly on the part of Republicans to confirming someone who's not qualified to lead the greatest military on the face of the earth.
And to that point, Senator Hegseth has said he knows he doesn't have a similar biography to previous secretaries of defense. He questions where that's gotten us. He calls himself a change agent. How do you respond to that?
It's one thing to be a change agent, but it's another to be capable of actually doing the job. I'm not asking him to be an accountant, but he has never actually led a successful audit. And in fact, the largest budget he ran was $18 million. And, one of the previous organizations that he was the CEO of, he so poorly mismanaged their finances, they had to bring in forensic accountants. And that's going from in the tens of millions of dollars to the defense budgets, which this year is going to be around $825 billion. He's just not capable. I mean, I've said it time and again, your local Applebee's manager has managed more people and had a bigger budget than Pete Hegseth has been able to successfully manage. And now he wants us to lower the standards so he can become Secretary of Defense. It's not about being a change agent. There are lots of change agents out there, but you also have to be competent enough to lead experts in the field. And he couldn't even answer some of my most basic questions today.
You mentioned the word standards. Hegseth has had conflicting statements about women serving in the military. You were one of many to criticize his views during hearings. Let's take a listen to some of that.
Women who've earned their place in their units. You have not earned your place as Secretary of Defense. You say you care about keeping our armed forces strong and that you like that our armed forces are meritocracy. Then let's not lower the standards for you. You, sir, are a no-go at this station.
Hegseth has said his point has been about women meeting certain standards. It's certainly not what he said a month ago on that podcast, but are you concerned that he could change his mind if confirmed?
Well, yes, but again, he all today he kept talking about how he didn't want to lower standards for the troops, whether it's women or men or blacks or whites. And he kept saying that because I don't want to lower the standards. I want to keep the standards high. But in the very same breath, he's asking us to lower the standards so that he can be Secretary of Defense. So, it's hypocritical. It's like, wait. So you want to hold everybody else to a higher standard, but you want us to lower our standards so that you could be the guy to lead the people meeting the high standards. Come on now. Let's be real. This is about a man who wants to put his personal political ambitions above the national security of this nation.
Senator, does he have the votes? Have you talked with your colleagues?
Unfortunately, I think he probably has the Republican votes because my Republican colleagues, I hope that some of them will vote no on him, but I am, deeply disappointed that it appears that they are willing to bend the knee to President Trump and to MAGA extremists instead of putting the well-being and the security of this nation before their own personal political survival. And that's not where we need to be as a nation. Remember that the Secretary of Defense is going to have access to our nuclear arsenal. Our allies will be watching. Do you want somebody who had to pay off a woman who accused him of sexual assault in order to keep his last job as a TV commentator, becoming Secretary of Defense, where he might be vulnerable to the next person who wants to blackmail him? Is that who we want to be Secretary of Defense? That's not who I want in that job.
Senator Tammy Duckworth, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.